After 12 years, I uncovered my wife's secret life. Her response: talk to my attorney. So I did exactly that. I never imagined I'd be posting something like this. 12 years of marriage, supposedly built on trust and honesty, and then I discover it was all a carefully constructed facade. The discovery, it started with a simple notification. I was using Rebecca's laptop to print some documents for work since mine was updating. A message popped up from someone named Marcus with just 3 words that changed everything. Miss you already. This wouldn't normally raise alarms, but something about it felt off. Rebecca had never mentioned anyone named Marcus. I clicked the notification, which opened her messaging app. What I found was hundreds of messages spanning back nearly 2 years. Romantic messages, explicit photos, plans for meetups during business trips that I now realized never existed. I sat there for nearly an hour, scrolling through evidence of a double life my wife had been leading. Plans they'd made, inside jokes they shared, complaints about me and our marriage. It was all there, in excruciating detail. When Rebecca came home that evening, I was waiting at the kitchen table, her laptop open to the messages. "Who's Marcus?" I asked calmly. The color drained from her face. She didn't try to deny it or explain. Instead, she grabbed her phone and backed away like I was some kind of threat. "I need to call my sister," she said, her voice shaking. "I can't do this right now." She locked herself in our bedroom for over an hour. When she finally emerged, she was eerily composed. "I've spoken with an attorney," she announced coldly. "I want a divorce. All communication should go through my lawyer from now on." She handed me a business card for someone named Sandra Hoffman, family law specialist. I stared at the card, stunned by the clinical efficiency with which she'd just ended our marriage. No apology, no explanation, just straight to lawyers. "You're not even going to explain?" I asked. "Talk to my attorney," she repeated, then grabbed her pre-packed overnight bag, which I hadn't even noticed she'd prepared while in the bedroom, and walked out. The strategy. That night was rough. I cycled through every emotion: hurt, betrayal, rage, confusion, grief. But by morning, a strange clarity had settled over me. If Rebecca wanted to handle this like a business transaction, I could oblige. I called my friend Michael, who'd gone through a nasty divorce 2 years prior. "She's lawyered up already and cut off communication," I explained. "Says to only talk to her attorney." "Then you need Devin Grant," Michael said without hesitation. "He handled my divorce. Expensive as hell, but worth every penny. And listen, don't do anything stupid. No angry texts, no social media rants, no touching the finances yet. Just call Grant." I met with Devin Grant that afternoon. His office was minimalist and intimidating, all steel, glass, and leather. The man himself was surprisingly approachable, though. Short, balding, with glasses and a demeanor that instantly put me at ease. "Tell me everything," he said. So I did. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair and nodded slowly. "Here's what most people don't understand about divorce," he said. "It's not about emotion. It's about math and documentation. Now, let's talk about your financial situation." I explained that we had a joint account for household expenses, but maintained separate personal accounts as well. Rebecca ran a moderately successful interior design business, but I earned about 3 times her income as a software developer. I paid the mortgage on our house, which was in both our names, car payments, insurance, and most major expenses. "Who handles the bills and paperwork?" Devin asked. "I do," I replied. "Rebecca has always hated dealing with that stuff." A small smile appeared on his face. "That gives us an advantage. You know where all the bodies are buried, financially speaking." For the next hour, we developed a strategy. Not vindictive, not meant to punish Rebecca, but designed to protect myself and ensure a fair outcome. The documentation. That evening, I started gathering documents. Bank statements, investment accounts, property records, credit card bills. I discovered some unsettling patterns. Rebecca's business had been doing much better than she'd led me to believe. For the past 3 years, she'd reported to me that she was making around $65,000 annually. Her business accounts showed closer to $120,000. She'd opened a separate personal account 18 months ago, right around when the affair with Marcus seemed to begin. Nearly $40,000 had been funneled into it. Several expensive pieces of jewelry and designer items had been purchased in the past year that I'd never seen her wear. There were regular cash withdrawals of $500 to $1,000 from ATMs near her studio, totaling over $30,000 in the past year. I forwarded everything to Devin with detailed notes. His response was immediate. Excellent work. This establishes a pattern of financial deception that will be very useful. Now sit tight and wait for her attorney to make contact. The first move. 3 days passed with no word for Rebecca or her attorney. During that time, I continued my normal routine. I went to work. I came home. I ate. I slept poorly. I maintained our household accounts and paid the bills that were coming due. What I didn't do was transfer any extra money to Rebecca's personal account, something I'd been doing monthly for years, essentially an informal allowance of $2,500 for her discretionary spending. On day 4, my phone rang. Sandra Hoffman, Rebecca's attorney. Mr. Carter, we have a situation that needs addressing immediately, she began, her voice clipped and professional. My client has found herself without access to necessary funds. The support you've provided throughout your marriage has been suddenly cut off, which could be construed as financial abandonment. I took a deep breath. Ms. Hoffman, I've maintained all household accounts and bill payments. The mortgage is paid. The utilities are on. The only thing that's changed is I haven't deposited the extra spending money I usually give Rebecca, which was always a voluntary arrangement, not a formal agreement. My client has certain expectations based on your established financial relationship, Hoffman countered. She needs access to funds for personal expenses. Your client ended our marriage without discussion and demanded lawyer-only communication. I replied, surprised by the steadiness in my voice. I'm respecting her wishes. Any financial arrangements going forward should be part of our formal separation agreement. I'm sure you have Devin Grant's contact information if you'd like to discuss this further. The line went quiet for a moment. This approach isn't conducive to an amicable separation, Mr. Carter. Neither is having an affair for 2 years and then demanding divorce via attorney. Ms. Hoffman, I responded. I'll wait to hear from Devin about any formal requests. Have a good day. After hanging up, I immediately called Devin to report the conversation. He was pleased with my response but warned me to expect escalation. They thought you'd be desperate to talk to her, he explained. That you'd agree to anything just to reopen communication. When that didn't work, they tried to make you feel guilty. Next, they'll try to make you look like the bad guy. The pressure campaign. He was right. The next day, Rebecca's sister Megan called me. How could you cut her off like this? She demanded without preamble. She's staying with me because she can't even afford a hotel room. I remained calm. Megan, Rebecca chose to end our marriage and demanded lawyer-only communication. I'm respecting her wishes. If she needs emergency funds, her attorney can work that out with mine. You're being deliberately cruel, Megan accused. This isn't the Nathan I know. And Rebecca isn't the person I thought I knew for 12 years, I replied. Please tell her that all communication needs to go through our attorneys, as she requested. Next came mutual friends. Text messages asking if I was really going to play hardball and suggestions that I was being vindictive. I responded to each with a simple explanation. Rebecca had set the terms of our separation, and I was honoring them. Then came the social media campaign. Rebecca posted vague but pointed comments about discovering someone's true nature during difficult times and how financial control is a form of abuse. Friends who only knew her side began commenting with supportive messages and thinly veiled criticism of me. I didn't engage. Devin had been crystal clear. Social media is where divorce cases are lost. Post nothing. Respond to nothing. Document everything. The legal battle begins. 2 weeks after Rebecca walked out, we had our first court hearing for temporary support arrangements. I'd barely slept the night before, anxious about seeing her in person. The courtroom was austere and intimidating. Rebecca sat on one side with her attorney, looking perfectly put together in a conservative navy dress, hair neatly styled, but with carefully cultivated dark circles under her eyes. She didn't meet my gaze once. Sandra Hoffman presented their case first. Rebecca, the devoted wife who had sacrificed career advancement to support her husband's success, now cruelly cut off from financial resources. They requested temporary support that amounted to more than Rebecca had ever spent monthly during our entire marriage, plus exclusive use of our home, which she had voluntarily left, and temporary possession of both vehicles, including my car. When Devin rose to speak, he was methodical and devastating. He presented evidence in 3 categories. The affair, while not legally relevant in our no-fault state, it established the timeline and context of Rebecca's decision to end the marriage. Financial deception, bank records showing Rebecca's hidden income, secret account, and unexplained expenditures. Current financial status, documentation proving I was still maintaining all household obligations while Rebecca had significant resources of her own that she was concealing. Your Honor, Devin concluded, this isn't a case of financial abandonment. Mr. Carter is maintaining all marital obligations. What Mrs. Carter is actually seeking is premium funding for a lifestyle she chose to pursue outside the marriage, while simultaneously hiding substantial personal resources. Judge Winters, a stern woman in her 60s who had looked increasingly displeased throughout the presentations, turned to Rebecca. Mrs. Carter, are you prepared to provide full financial disclosure, including all business accounts and personal accounts opened within the past 2 years? Rebecca whispered frantically to her attorney, who then stood. Your Honor, we would need time to compile that information. The judge's eyebrow raised slightly. You had time to compile detailed requests for support, but not to prepare basic financial disclosure? The court finds that concerning. In the end, the judge ordered minimal temporary support, about 1/4 of what Rebecca had requested, and denied her petition for exclusive use of the house or my vehicle. Most importantly, she ordered comprehensive financial disclosure from both parties within 14 days. As we left the courtroom, Rebecca finally looked at me, her expression a mixture of shock and fury. She hadn't expected me to fight back. She certainly hadn't expected me to be prepared. The hidden assets, the financial disclosure deadline revealed even more than I'd initially discovered. Working with a forensic accountant Devin recommended, we found Rebecca had been systematically underreporting her business income for at least 4 years, not just to me but potentially on our tax returns. The secret account contained not $40,000 as I'd initially found, but closer to $95,000 when we uncovered a linked investment account. She had purchased a small condominium in a neighboring city 6 months earlier, with Marcus listed as a co-occupant. The down payment had come from her hidden funds. She had opened 3 new credit cards in her name only, maxed out to nearly $60,000 for furniture, appliances, and renovations for the condo. When confronted with this evidence during mediation, Rebecca's demeanor completely changed. The confident, righteously indignant facade cracked. She looked genuinely afraid for the first time. Sandra Hoffman requested a break and took Rebecca into a private room. When they returned 30 minutes later, their approach had shifted entirely. My client is willing to consider a more equitable division of assets, Hoffman began cautiously. She also recognizes that some of her financial decisions may have lacked transparency. Devin's expression didn't change, but I could feel his satisfaction. We're open to equitable division, he replied, starting with full disclosure of all assets acquired during the marriage, including those purchased with concealed funds. The settlement. The next 3 months were a grueling process of negotiation, forensic accounting, and legal maneuvering. Rebecca fought hardest over the condo, arguing it was purchased with her business earnings and should be considered separate property. Devin was relentless. Funds concealed during marriage, particularly when commingled with marital assets or potentially involving tax issues that could affect both parties, cannot be conveniently separated now. In the end, we reached a settlement. The house would be sold, with proceeds split 60/40 in my favor, reflecting my higher contribution to the mortgage. The condo would be sold as well, with proceeds split 50/50 after the mortgage was paid off. Retirement accounts would be divided based on contributions during the marriage. Rebecca's business would remain hers, but she would buy out my interest in it, as it was started during our marriage, with a structured payment plan. Each of us would keep our personal vehicles and be responsible for our own debts going forward. No ongoing spousal support after the settlement. Most importantly to me, Rebecca would be responsible for any tax liabilities arising from her underreported income. A clause that Devin insisted on, knowing it protected me from potential IRS issues down the road. The aftermath. The divorce was finalized 6 months after that fateful message from Marcus. I never met him, never spoke to him, though I learned he was a client who had become more. According to mutual friends, their relationship imploded shortly after Rebecca's financial deceptions came to light. Apparently, he'd been sold on an image of Rebecca as a highly successful designer with substantial personal wealth, an image that crumbled under scrutiny. Rebecca tried to reach out directly once the divorce was finalized, sending a text that read, "I know you probably hate me, but I never meant for things to end this way. You didn't have to be so ruthless." I stared at that message for a long time before responding, "I didn't end things, Rebecca. I didn't demand lawyer-only communication. I didn't hide money or lie for years. I simply respected your wishes and protected myself. I don't hate you. I just don't know you at all." She read the message but never replied. It's been a year now. The house sold for a good price in a strong market. I used my portion to buy a smaller place closer to work. I've heard Rebecca moved to another state after the condo sold, possibly to restart her business where her reputation wasn't tarnished. Sometimes friends ask if I regret how things played out, if a less adversarial approach might have been better. I always give the same answer. I didn't choose the battlefield or set the rules of engagement. I just refused to surrender without a fight. The hardest lesson wasn't about Rebecca's betrayal. It was realizing how little I actually knew about our finances despite believing I was in control. The experience changed how I approach relationships, money, and trust. I'm more careful now, more thorough. Not paranoid, just properly prepared. For anyone going through something similar, here's what I learned. When someone shows you who they really are and what they truly value, believe them the first time. And when they say, "Talk to my attorney," make sure yours is better. Epilogue. Last week, I received a large envelope at my office. Inside was a cashier's check for $17,500 and a handwritten note from Rebecca. The final payment for my portion of her business, 3 months early. The note read, "The last payment, as agreed." I've been seeing a therapist who's helping me understand why I did what I did. It doesn't excuse anything, but I want you to know I recognize the damage I caused. You deserve better. I hope you find someone worthy of your trust. I deposited the check but didn't respond to the note. Some chapters are better left closed. I've started dating again recently. Taking it slow. Being more open about financial discussions early on. It feels strange but necessary. 12 years of marriage ended with a text notification and a business card. But what's emerged from the ashes isn't bitterness or distrust. It's wisdom. And wisdom, unlike happiness, is sometimes worth the price paid to acquire it.